The tilt is real.
Tilt is real.
This is when the tilt is real.
Welcome to another episode of the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Coming to you live from the chef's table, here are your hosts, James Crease and Juan Pena. Let's go.
Good morning and happy tilting, Juan, my friend. It is a beautiful day.
It is.
Thank you, everybody, for joining into the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, James Crease. It's May 13th, and normally we do a Wednesday night show, but man, I've been getting clobbered by a 7-pound, 1-ounce newborn.
Middle linebacker to be.
Yeah, middle linebacker to be. I love that. I love that.
Yes, sir.
This is episode 51 of the Tilt is Real, and it's not our normal scheduled time to pod, but you know what? My main man Juan came over, helped us out, checked us, and wanted to see his new nephew.
Indeed.
So why not jump in and talk about this new schedule, man?
Yeah, it's all starting anew. We got a new baby here. We got a new schedule. The season's officially tilted, and we're tilting into 2021 officially. Now we know where we can go watch games, when the games are going to be, and it's exciting.
Oh, dude, it's so exciting. And I'm a little nervous for some of my dynasty rosters. I've only checked one so far, and those bye weeks are tight, my dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the bye weeks are going to be crucial this year. It's going to be brutal.
But you know what? We're here to help everybody.
We're
here
indeed.
to tilt through those bye weeks, to tilt into your seasonal leagues, help you out in your dynasty leagues, and maybe even get into some best ball later on.
Oh, best ball is going to be fun this year too.
Oh,
yeah, for
yes.
sure.
It's already popping off over at Underdog.
For sure. And our man, Dave Kluge, who was with us last week, and he helped us discuss some of the ups and downs of the NFL draft and the landing spots and where people ended up, so it was a fantastic way to have him on. And he loves best ball.
It was Cinco de Mayo.
It was Cinco de Mayo.
It was crazy.
That was a fun show.
Go back and listen to episode 50 if you like that, man.
Indeed.
Because we laid down some post-draft information that is crucial to the 2021 season.
For Dynasty, best ball, and for redraft, for sure.
But yeah, man, if you like what you hear and would love to help support the show, find us at the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast on anchorpodcast.com. That's anchorpodcast.com. We use it. It's a free platform. If you're looking into getting into podcasting for the first time, try Anchor.
Indeed.
All right. We have our stuff on every platform imaginable. Google Play, Apple, Spotify.
Yeah.
And Anchor has its own station as well. So jump in if you like that. Hit the subscribe button. You want to help us out? Hit that supporter button. But enough of the plugs. Let's get into some news, man, because it's been popping. It's been popping.
It's the Weekly Reel, presented by the Tilt is Real. It's the Weekly Reel. Let me hear the news.
And the first piece of news this week that just Juan, first and foremost, let's go through this. I was driving on the Parkway on Mother's Day, and I got a little bit of news. My wife said, pull over. And I said, pull over? What's wrong? She said, F that. We could say F that on the show. F that. Beep, beep. Take me to the hospital. And my mind was initially blown. Okay. Almost equally effective is this news that Tim Tebow is signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that came on Monday after. So my head is just spinning in all sorts of directions, but he joins Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. And man, is he going to be fantasy relevant this year at all?
On its face, you're saying he's the third string tight end, but like upside is there's a package for him. He's around the goal line. They're using him in some kind of, wildcat type of formation.
Maybe Taysom Hill?
Like a mini Taysom Hill role, or maybe even more. Like it makes sense for him to have a guy of that character in the locker room. It makes sense for a guy from Jacksonville who played his college football in that area in Gainesville, for him to be around. He's going to be good in the locker room. He's good for publicity. It keeps some of the attention away from your young rookie quarterback so that he's not burdened by the media. And like all off season, everybody's going to be talking about Tebow, right? So it's a good way to just let Trevor Lawrence transition into the NFL. So I guess it makes sense. Fantasy wise, though, I'm really not sure what to do with Tebow. I know a few guys have picked him up in leagues and they're stashing him because just in case. But me personally, I'm not picking him up. I think I'm going to pass on that.
Oh, yeah, I might pass on it too. One thing I can't pass up on are the congratulations in the chat. Shout out to our man Justin. Thank you, Justin, for tuning in there. Congrats. Yes, thank you. And he says Zach Wilson is the GOAT. Maybe
Early.
not. And we're going to get into that in our seasonal review, our schedule review rather. And then what did Big Green say? In the middle of a math lecture, but couldn't resist clicking the notification. What's up, guys?
What's going
That's
on,
what's
Big
up,
Greens?
man. I hope you're learning something in that math class, brother. But thank you so much, guys. We appreciate the love. And the Packers may need some love.
For love.
Well, they're signing some extra help to help Jordan Love.
Right.
And Packers signing Blake Bortles, formerly of the Rams, to a 1-year contract yesterday, Wednesday. This is interesting in the fact that they were going to have warm-ups or mini camp or anything like that, and they wanted the quarterbacks out there, and Aaron Rodgers, Stonewall Aaron Rodgers, hold the wall.
He's not coming.
Game of Thrones.
He's a fan. Aficionado.
Big fan. Oh, yeah, big fan. He was actually in an episode.
Right.
Yeah, so he knows all about the wall, and he's throwing one up, and he has zero plans whatsoever to come back to the Packers.
And they have zero plans whatsoever to trade Aaron Rodgers. So, this standstill is going to be a soap opera that's going to play out throughout the whole summer.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think LaFleur is going to stand down. He's pretty stubborn, but you know what? Rodgers is maybe even more stubborn, and he just turns around and walks away from football.
He could. Why not go host Jeopardy or do whatever he wants? But I feel like he wants to catch up to Brady. This whole thing is about being like Brady, who we saw get another Super Bowl championship by doing it his way, by getting his guys, and the organization gave him everything he wanted leading up to that. They drafted him a left tackle last year in Tristan Wirfs. They went and got him Antonio Brown. They brought in Gronk. Everything he said he wanted, they gave it to him. And Rodgers wants a little bit. He's not even asking for all of that. He just wants a little bit of love.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody can learn from Tampa Bay, it would be the Packers, considering, that kick on the last play of the conference game.
You had a chance. You're right there. You're 26-6 the last 2 seasons. So, I mean, all you need is to give him a little bit of what he wants, a little bit of help. And I just don't understand why they won't give it to him.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And you know what? It'll fall on management more so than Rodgers, because Rodgers has paid his dues over and over again. One of the top quarterbacks in the league, especially last year and in fantasy for that matter. So, you know what? Packers, be better.
Yeah, be better.
Be better. Make if he doesn't want to play for you, go get a package deal. Why wait and wait and wait?
Other teams are going to back up the Brinks truck and give you whatever you want.
We've been hearing stories out of Denver that they're clawing at the bit for Aaron Rodgers.
Right. The 49ers would have given him whatever they wanted. If the news would have broke a week before, they would have had the number 3 and a bunch of other
they would
things.
have had their pick at their next franchise quarterback. Because personally, as good as Jordan Love was, and he was a second-round draft pick last year.
First, they jumped back into the first. Remember, they traded back into the first to take him.
I thought they took the cornerback in the first. Maybe that was
this
second.
year. That was this year. Yeah, last year they traded back up into the first round to make sure that they got him.
Oh,
so that's even more of a slap in the face. That's why Rodgers was mad in the first place.
Right. So they're trying to replace him, but not replace him.
Right. If you believe in Jordan Love so much, then trade Rodgers for Nick Bosa and that number 3 before the draft. That would have worked out, and then rebuild your team that way. But we'll see what they do.
Speaking of trades, this next piece of news is mildly disturbing and mildly pleasing.
Oh, it's entertaining for sure.
ESPN Michael Rothstein reports the Colts could be among potential trade partners for, get ready, Julio Jones. Oh, man. Rothstein said that the 49ers, Patriots, and Raiders could also be in the mix for Julio. But the Falcons, I think they might get rid of him. But I think what happens is, so let's break it down before I start stumbling over my words, over myself. $21.5 million cap hit this year with Julio. $20 million cap hit next year in 2022. If they get rid of him after June, I believe June 15th or something, I don't remember the exact deadline, they save that cap hit. for some reason. I don't know how that
Yeah,
transitions.
yeah.
But so it could be a blockbuster trade, and I would love to see him on the Colts, especially with the Wentz ownership I have in Dynasty.
Yeah, suddenly that receiving room would look a lot different if it's him on the opposite side of Michael Pittman and T.Y. can play mostly out of the slot with little bits of Paris Campbell sprinkled in here and there. Like that suddenly makes it
That's
a really
big
dynamic
team.
offense. Yeah. Does Michael Pittman give up the number 11 to him? He wouldn't give it to Wentz, but does he give it to Julio?
No,
No, right?
I don't
He
think
keeps
so.
it.
I don't think so. If Carson Wentz is his team leader,
Right.
he's not going to give it up to Carson Wentz. He ain't giving it up to Julio either. That might be a deal breaker for Julio.
Julio, yeah.
But you know what? We've seen guys, even oh man, I'm sorry. Even prime time.
Yeah.
He changed numbers when he went to the Ravens.
He did indeed.
Yeah. But yeah, that's so that was the news. That was fun.
I like Julio. There's a few other spots that you have highlighted, Chef. The 49ers, the Patriots, the Raiders. Because I don't know if it takes a haul to get him. I don't think you have to trade a whole bunch to get a 30-plus year-old wide receiver, with 2 years remaining at $20 million each year. Like that's a big cap hit and a big burden to take on if you're another team. He has been injury prone. Like he has been hurt a little bit. So I know he's, elite, bordering on generational, which we throw that term around too loosely, but he's elite.
He is definitely elite.
He's been elite his entire career. So, I mean, it makes sense for a team that's trying to win right now. So, but that would signal to me that Atlanta's rebuilding, which is weird because why would you trade away Julio if you kept Matt Ryan and you didn't go after a quarterback and you took Pitts?
And that's what makes me worried. Like they have all the weapons in place right now to go out there and get it.
Compete. Yeah.
Yes. Is it enough to compete with the Buccaneers? I'm not sure.
No, but to sneak into the wild card and make a run.
Yeah, possibly.
They lost a lot of close games last year. It wasn't like they were completely out of it. And that was with Julio being banged up. So,
but I think it's a simple fact of management and managing the salary cap as well, because you know what? Even though they are going to go for a Super Bowl, the Pittsburgh Steelers do the same thing every year. They never chop it fully down to the bricks and rebuild. They always add a piece and keep striving, and they wind up like that 9-7, 10-6 team where they compete enough to be competitive, but not get over into the championship, into the Super Bowl. And you know what? Atlanta kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, they try to stay right there and relevant because once you're in, you're in. You don't have to be the division winner to make a run to the Super Bowl like we've seen your Giants do it both times. I believe they were a wild card team and they went all the way through. So.
And I mean, if they did trade Julio Jones, that means they're running with Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, and Russell Gage.
Right.
Now, as much as I love Calvin Ridley, and he did great, fantastic work when Julio Jones was off the field, Russell Gage was not able to come in and fill that void of that extra second wide receiver on the field. He just didn't do enough. I loved him. I loved him for fantasy.
Right.
And he got you some wins.
He sure did, especially in the beginning of the season. But I think he benefited from having Julio there and drawing some of the attention away. Once he had a little bit more coverage, paying attention to him, Gage kind of went away. But Pitts could be that guy. It could be generational and could come in and make it like where you have to double him every single play. And then Ridley will still benefit, and so will Gage. So.
I think how Kyle Pitts performs in mini camps and as see how fast he can get acclimated to the playbook and the play style of the Atlanta Falcons could dictate a little bit on where Julio Jones goes or stays.
Also, if they get off to a bad start, and then suddenly you're staring down the barrel at 1-4, and then now what do you do before week 6, before the trade deadline? You go ahead and trade Julio then, to a team that's contending. Maybe the Colts get off to a good start and they're 4-2, 5-1, and they're like, okay, we need Julio to get us over the hump in the playoffs, and they might go for it.
I hope they go for something. But let's get into the schedule, man. I'm excited to talk about it. At least week 1. And, we talked about it 1-4. I mean, there's a chance that they go 1-0.
Yeah,
getting into the schedule. But here we go. All right, so week 1 of the NFL schedule. Oh my God, Juan, it feels like it's right around the corner, man.
It does, and it will creep up. It'll be here faster than we think, for sure.
I'm looking at it. Opening day, Thursday, September 9th, Dallas at Tampa Bay, Raymond James Stadium. We get to see the Super Bowl champions
At the scene of the heist.
at the scene of the heist. Was it a heist?
It was a heist. And, like, really, I was saying that the Tampa D was good, and a few other people were calling for Tampa, but everybody expected the Chiefs to win that game. And Tom Brady stole it. He stole another ring. He went in there and took it. So
I mean, stealing, earning,
yeah,
shades of gray.
yeah, shades of gray.
You can tilt on that all day long.
Mm-hmm. But it'll be good to see Dak back, though. That's what I'm excited for in this game. Like, I'm excited to see Dak returning, how healthy he looks, how well that offense is clicking and how it's moving, especially against that tough Tampa defense. Tampa brought everybody back on both sides of the ball, so they're a replenished team. They even added through the draft, so they have depth on defense that they added. So it's a little scary that Tampa team building a kind of a little mini dynasty here if they stay together for this year and for another. But that's going to be a great test to see them against the Dallas offense.
Yeah, I like it on the other side of the ball. I mean, Tampa Bay, not a high flying offense, but Dallas's defense,
makes everybody look good.
is on the lower side. We won't say they are at the bottom because we don't know yet, but they are towards the bottom of rankings, especially after last year. So this leads me to believe that Dallas's offense, and we're going to get into this a little bit, and I've been watching this, the NFC East, they're going to have to put up a lot of points this year.
Oh, yeah.
Their defenses aren't, with the regards of the Washington football team, they are not the best in defense. Therefore, fantasy points will be coming out of the NFC East.
Yeah, I'm loving the NFC East for sure. I'm targeting a lot of their players, and especially if you target guys like Terry McLaurin from the Washington football team going up against lesser corners and lesser defenses.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited for those offenses. And you're right, Tampa could be going off against the Cowboys.
And so for that matter, Amari Cooper looks great in week 1 up against Tampa.
Right. And then on the other side, Mike Evans against, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. The problem's going to be all year long is who is it going to be?
For Tampa, that's a tough one
it's
to
always
call.
going to be who's it going to be. But I like Godwin for consistency and Mike Evans for touchdowns.
And you got to think about the CeeDee Lamb aspect as well. We got to see part of it with him with Dak, but not too much. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he has in year 2.
Yeah, he's going to definitely take a leap forward because he was borderline unguardable later on down the stretch coming out of that slot. So.
Another game that jumps off the page to me, and we talked about this before we went live, is the New York Jets at Carolina, Bank of America Stadium, 1:00 on Sunday. It's the first one of the 1:00 slate. And man, talk about a revenge game.
Oh, yeah.
Early on, like they must have been waiting for the NFL draft to be over before they put this in print.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be back page of the New York Post. Did Zach, make us feel right? Or did we mess up by trading away Darnold? If Darnold looks great in that game, you already know New York's going to jump.
Headlines, Zach attack.
Yeah.
Or Darnold be done.
Something like that.
Something. I don't know. Wasn't a good run. But
but speaking of good runs, that's a game where I'm excited. I want to see Run CMC back in action. Going up against that Jets defense. Let me see Run CMC back in play and what that offense looks like. It's another year for Joe Brady. So that's an exciting game with 2 young quarterbacks who traded spots. So the slate is looking good to start.
It's a matchup made in heaven, man. I'm happy I still have the ticket. Philadelphia versus Atlanta. This is a good one. Dirty Bird matchup. All right, we got Jalen Hurts, and we had already talked about the rookies from Atlanta be with Kyle Pitts, but we get to see Devontae Smith live and up front on the road in week 1.
And he's with that speed in a dome, him and Rager, like if they're right, that could be an exciting game with a lot of fantasy points because neither defense is going to wow you. The Eagles defense is great at home historically, but never great on the road. So I feel like that's a game where a lot of points might get scored and you might see a lot of fantasy implications in that game.
I'm looking forward to Miles Sanders. And I know we nixed on the news about Kerryon Johnson signing with the Eagles earlier. That's only because it happened like 2 days after we went live. And it's Kerryon Johnson, folks.
Right.
There's a reason why DeAndre Swift did so well in Detroit. Okay. There is a reason why Kerryon Johnson did not get re-signed by the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they owed him $1.4 million and they'd rather not pay that, you know. So
and there's a reason why he got claimed off of waivers.
Yeah, they have Jamal Williams there to give him the depth piece behind DeAndre Swift. So, and the Eagles picked him up because he's probably better than Jordan Howard at this point. But and then you have unproven Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott, who's a little small.
I think there's going to be a competition during the preseason, over the summer. to see who gets on the roster. There are way too many running backs on that roster. And as much as I liked Boston Scott and his elusiveness, I think he may be a cut casualty due to Kenny Gainwell back into that.
I think either he or Gainwell or Howard or Johnson, like they keep one of each, I think, and end up with three guys. So Gainwell would be the one you keep probably.
It also could be them learning their mistakes, because last year when Miles Sanders got hurt, it just crushed everything.
Yeah.
So, the more the merrier. They just have to find a way to keep it cap savvy.
Yeah, I feel like all the teams are trying to have 3 or 4 running backs in their stable. And speaking of that, the next team, the Indianapolis Colts against the Seahawks, that's another. They get Marlon Mack back. The Colts do, so that's a stable as well. Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, and Nyheim Hines are all going to see the field, and they're all going to get touches. And that's a pretty good game. It's the first time Carson Wentz gets to be on the field. He's going up against Russ. Like that's a really good matchup with that good Indianapolis defense.
Yeah, man. Oof. Carson Wentz versus Russell Wilson week 1 at home. Man, if they have Julio Jones on that Colts offense, wow.
Right. And Chef, all these games, I feel like there's new quarterbacks everywhere. So the Jets and Carolina both have new quarterbacks. Burrow's back from injury in the second game against Minnesota. You have Philadelphia with Hurts officially being the starter. And then Carson Wentz facing Seattle, new team, right? And then is it Trey Lance or is it Jimmy G week 1 against Detroit with Jared Goff being their new quarterback?
I think it's going to be Jimmy G until he messes up.
Okay.
Until he messes up. I think they're going to be smart about Trey Lance. They're not just going to hand him over the keys and let him get crushed. If they have Jimmy G still on the roster, Jimmy G is the starter.
Okay.
For at least 4 games.
All right.
I would say week 6, maybe.
I
depending on how they're doing.
I feel lately the smile on Shanahan's face and the way he's been talking. I feel like there's a change coming, and I feel like if he sees the right things in the preseason, I think I wouldn't be shocked if he just handed it over.
What would be so serendipitous is if the 49ers got to trade Jimmy G to Green Bay for some reason. Like they could have done that earlier in the draft.
Before the draft.
That would be wild. Because, the Patriots aren't going to just take Jimmy G back now.
Nope. No.
Because they went out and got Mac Jones. Yeah. They have Cam Newton.
They got Jimmy G 2.0. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much. So we'll see what happens. I mean, let's get off the Packers thing because that's just bothering me. Well, no, let's stick with the Packers because they're playing the New Orleans Saints week 1. Now, we may be looking at no Breeze. Well, we are looking at no Breeze.
For sure.
We're looking at a Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston combination of sorts. And then we may be looking at Jordan Love as the starting quarterback or Blake Bortles as a starting quarterback. But in all reality, it would be Jordan Love.
I think it would be Love, yeah.
If Rodgers wasn't there. I think Blake Bortles is just a backup piece, not really fantasy relevant at all.
Right. Yeah, but that game right there could be Rodgers versus Jameis and a pretty interesting game. High scoring, good for fantasy, great for Devontae Adams, or it could be rookie quarterback. We're not sure. Good Saints defense. Devontae Adams fade. So yeah, it could be, and Taysom Hill's the starter, and they're going to run the ball. That game could go from beautiful to ugly. That's good. That game really quickly, just like another game, Denver against the Giants, could go from, is it Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, last leg, both of them. Here's your chance to start, or it's Aaron Rodgers coming to MetLife.
Yeah,
to give you guys hell. But that's a team I'm excited for. Is your Giants? I'm excited to see that offense line up and be at its full capacity. Like I can't wait for the first time that you have Tony and Shepard and Galladay on the field with Ingram and Barkley. I want to see what that looks like because on paper, I want to hit that team heavy in the draft this year.
Absolutely.
I'm targeting all those guys on that team this year.
Tony, Galladay.
Yeah. And even Sterling Shepard late. He's a good bye week fill-in. I'll take him later on. Even
not Slayton, though.
Probably not Slayton. It depends on how the preseason shapes out because you never know how quickly Tony adapts to the offense and is going to be utilized in that offense. Because I'm not forgetting that Darius Slayton has 4.33 speed. I'm not leaving that alone. And John Ross is on that team too. So there's going to be a lot of questions answered during mini camps, training camp, and then the preseason.
Justin believes, he's in the chat. He says Giants will get 8 to 10 wins. I believe you.
Yeah, I'm
right there with you, Justin.
Yeah, I think everybody in that division has a chance to do the 8 to 10 win thing. Outside, I feel like the Eagles are starting to be on the decline, and it's going to fully depend on how healthy Dak is, whether or not the Cowboys are good.
And I think they set the tone right off the gate in week 1 against Denver.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough test because they are going to have Von Miller back, and they do have Bradley Chubb. It's going to be a test on your O-line, but I don't know if they did enough with Kyle Fuller in the offseason, and Surtain as a rookie, corner. Like, is that defense good enough to travel and come cross country and beat the Giants at home, especially if Drew Lock's your quarterback? If it's Aaron Rodgers, forget about it. It's a whole completely different game.
Can we just pause for a second and realize that Saquon Barkley is actually going to be on the football field again? Let's go.
Yeah. People are forgetting, man. Like, we're going to be playing that. I know we're going to be playing that drop. Like, y'all must have forgot at some point during this season for Saquon being back.
And Justin wants to know, where is Mr. Swanson? We never know where he is. He's like Waldo sometimes.
Well, I know where he is right now. He's on a vacay right now.
He's on a roller coaster somewhere.
He doesn't have the plant for Big Greens, the prop today, but he is probably right now on a roller coaster.
If you could tilt your camera, you got some Big Greens over there. Just a shout out to Big Greens over there. Greens. Yeah, it's not all up in his face, but yeah. So what else? Oh, let's talk about this Kansas City Cleveland matchup week 1.
Yeah.
Because this is something that we talked about off show. We're loving the betting line right now at 6.5. Cleveland getting 6.5 points. And we know it's going to be closer than that. They almost beat them last year in the playoffs.
They played them tough, and they didn't have Jadeveon Clowney, and they didn't have Grant Delpit, who they get back from injury, or Greedy Williams, who they get back from injury, or Greg Newsome, who they just drafted, or Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Like, that's a different team. When you add 5-6 pieces like that, John Johnson, who they got, and Ty Hill, who they got from the Rams, they stole those 2 starters of Pro Bowl caliber players. Like, that's a loaded defense.
And the offense was already set in stone for the most part. Yeah. And we get to see OBJ coming back. Yeah. And for once, we don't have news about OBJ. Now, this is something I thought was going to happen. I thought they were going to try to trade him before the trade deadline, or when free agency opened up. And then they didn't. No news. Nothing happened. Is this the point where OBJ is just keeping his mouth quiet and going to focus on football, and they're going to sneakily get into the playoffs again?
Yeah, they can win the division outright.
I think they can win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would love to see the odds on Cleveland winning the Super Bowl in 2021, because you know what? I may throw like $50 on that.
Why not? Why not? It's one of those that you take a chance, because they are built for it. Like, on paper, they were built for it last year on paper. They looked really good and all that, but they came out and they played well. They play the right type of style to get you to the Super Bowl, to make a run in the playoffs. You play great defense, you shut people down and smother them, and then you run the ball with that 2-headed running monster. So that's going to be an exciting game, and of course against the great Kansas City Chiefs, So that's a possible Super Bowl preview, just like an AFC Championship preview, just like the NFC Championship could be Dallas and Tampa.
Yeah,
because Dallas could sneak in as a wild card, and that offense can go.
As a Giants fan, I wouldn't want that at all.
No, you won't want it, but it's possible.
Shout out to Corey in the chat, man. He didn't know it today was Wednesday. Well, it's just a Wednesday carryover morning edition of The Tilt is Real. We're just having some fun here, talking NFL schedule release. Juan, and we're going to kick it back to you on the Miami-New England matchup, because you are the resident Miami Dolphins fan.
Sure.
Do you think they have what it takes? They just got Jalen Waddle in the draft. They're not going to have Will Fuller for this game against New England.
Right.
Does that really make a difference?
Yeah, well, we always play them tough, and we always give them a rough time, and we'll see whether or not they're going to get their defense right, because they added some nice pieces during the offseason, so they're going to be a little bit better on defense than they were last year. They won't be so susceptible to the run, where we saw a few different people go off on them. The 49ers entire backfield, the Denver backfield, like everybody went off against New England last year. I don't see that happening. But I do see us playing them tough, and I'm excited to see what a big target share for Waddle right off the rip looks like, because if you don't have Will Fuller there, it's just Devontae Parker and Preston Williams that you're competing with. So it should be an interesting game. But out of those games there, there's so many games that are, I think, more exciting, like more entertaining, like that Chargers and football team game. Those two defenses going at it. Like Joey Bosa and Chase Young.
Well, you mentioned defense, and I don't want to get ahead of you. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves real fast, because New England lost a lot of players opting out last year,
right?
Due to the 2020, they get those players back,
right,
to a certain extent.
They do. They get Hightower back.
And Miami's defense was electrifying at some points last year.
Yes, sir.
So we could be looking at a real tight defensive matchup for the Miami-New England game, and it could be a low-scoring game.
It could be.
So all those Tua truthers out there, just hold back your expectations just a little bit, especially in week 1.
Yeah, against that Bill Belichick team, you want to definitely temper expectations as far as production from Tua going into week 1.
And you're right about the LA Chargers and the Washington football team, man. Wow. Like Washington's defense is top notch.
Yeah.
I want to put them in the at least the top 5.
Automatic. Yeah. Automatic. For me, they'd probably be top 3 somewhere with the Rams and Browns. Like as looking into this year of how they're going to be, I would put them there with top 3.
I like that in the top 3.
Yeah.
And those other 2 teams, absolutely. Like, so is that our official Tilt is Real top 3 defense?
I think top 3 defense.
Yeah.
We can do that. I don't care what order you put them in, but if you go Browns, Rams, and then the football team, that and any order you want.
And young too. Washington is young.
Yeah. Yeah. That front 4 is lethal.
The only problem is, how much faith do you really put in Fitzpatrick? How long is it going to be? Is it going to be 1, 2, 3 quarters before Fitzpatrick turns into Fitztragic?
Yeah.
Or does the magic blossom again in Washington day 1 against that LA Chargers defense? That's going to be the key.
Yeah, the Chargers defense gets Darwin James back, and he's a complete playmaker. And Kenneth Murray's going to be in his 2nd year, so you're going to expect to see him grow and become an even better linebacker than he was last year. And then you always have Bosa up front anchoring it, so they have playmakers on all 3 levels. That's one of the for me, that's one of the requirements to be called an elite defense or a great defense. I need playmakers on all 3 levels, and I feel like they have them.
I think I'm going to give it to Washington, though. If we had to choose right now who is going to win that game, it's going to be Washington.
I would say so, yes.
The only reason, and one of the reasons why I'm saying this is because the LA Chargers, they did have a new coach change. So it may take some time for everybody to get acclimated and accustomed to playing under that new system.
Right. And Herbert was great. This is going to be a great test to see if this is a sophomore slump year or if he takes it to another level and gets even better than he was. So young quarterbacks getting tested early on.
Yeah, but that defense is going to shake up that LA Chargers offensive line. They did lose a couple of pieces in offseason.
Yeah.
Whew. What else?
Oh, another possible AFC championship matchup is right there. The Pittsburgh Steelers against the Buffalo Bills. That's another 2 teams that could end up playing in the playoffs and making it a deep run.
I like Buffalo in the playoffs. I'm not so keen on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think they make it to the playoffs. They're going to get Devin Bush back on defense, and I feel like they're always going to be competitive. Like you said, they're always somewhere between 8-8 and 11-5. You know what I mean? Like they're one of those teams. So this year with the 17th game and all that stuff, I feel like they're a 10-7 football team.
I like that. And then we're going to jump into the first Monday night game. It's going to be Baltimore versus Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
How much running do we see?
All of it. I don't even know if Lamar Jackson has to throw a pass in that game. I think they're just going to try to run it down the Raiders' throat the whole game.
Oh, man.
It feels that way. They didn't do much to make their defense better. I don't like where the Raiders are organizationally. They're going to be competitive. They might put up a fight and all that, but
I mean, they might be competitive for first 2 quarters, for the first half.
Right.
And that Baltimore defense, they're going to wear them down. Their offensive line looks terrible. I feel bad for Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake, to be honest, because they're going to get chewed up and spit out.
Yeah, I don't love it for them either.
I mean, we saw what happened with the Browns last year. Nick Chubb was healthy. Kareem Hunt was healthy, and they did not stand a chance week 1 up against Baltimore. What was the final in that game? I think it was 41-7.
Yeah, they got blown out. They came back and got their season right, but they started off poorly, and I feel like that could very much happen to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, man, it's going to be tough. Derek Carr out there chucking it up, but they may be in the sweepstakes for Aaron Rodgers. So if that happens, changes. It could change some things.
You know what? It wouldn't be. It would be apropos for the NFL to somehow for this trade to go through, and then your first Monday night game suddenly becomes Lamar Jackson versus Aaron Rodgers in Las Vegas. What a party that's going to be on a Monday night.
And then we have some London games this year. October 10th and October 17th, they have the Jets and the Falcons.
Yeah.
I mean, I may watch that one.
Oh, I'm definitely watching.
It's morning. No, 2:30 p.m.
Chef, right now I'll watch a scrimmage game between the backups from any 2 teams you want, from the Houston Texans.
Wait, 2:30? Is that London time?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm positive that's – well, you know what? It might be 2:30, and they might be playing a night game because it'll be 7:30 in London if that happens.
Right.
So maybe it is. Maybe they're going away from the early 9 o'clock in the morning games, which I miss because I like those games.
I love those. Yeah. Those were kegs and eggs days.
Yeah, I love that.
Especially in the chef household.
Yeah. Love those days.
But Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we get to see Tua versus Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
Exciting. That's on October 17th.
Tanking for Tua and tanking for Trevor.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tank battle across the pond.
It is. You know what's odd that we wanted to talk about some of the bye weeks and all that stuff, but the Jags get a bye after that game, but the Dolphins don't, and they don't have their bye till week 14.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a little strange. Maybe they have a Monday night game in week 8 or something, but I don't know why they didn't automatically get a bye. Usually after you go to London, you get a bye.
Let's see. You said week 8. What do the Dolphins do on week 8? No, they play Buffalo in week 8. Right after
on a Sunday,
at 1 o'clock.
That's tough. So you travel to London, you go back home to Miami, you pack your bags, and you go to Buffalo. Oof.
They may just go to Buffalo right out of London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And not to mention the 2020 protocols and all that go along with it, coming back into the country, making sure everybody gets checked.
Right.
It's a longer lingering system that, man, I hope they speed it up this year.
Yeah, it'll be better.
Especially with the inoculations going around the league. But it's going to be a challenge for these guys. We're not out of the woods yet when it comes to the 2020. And, I hope everybody out there is being responsible and taking care of themselves the right way. Yeah, man. Wow.
I'm excited, Chef. Like I'm telling you, I want to watch preseason games. I want to watch scrimmages. I just want to see people throwing the football around and looking at the schedule and looking at this slate of games like Arizona, like Kyler Murray going up against that porous Tennessee defense. Like, let me get some of that. Like, that's a high scoring game and a good fantasy fun game. Also, test to Arizona's defense because you went out and you drafted Xavier Collins to go along with Isaiah Simmons, who you got last year, and then you got JJ Watt. Is your defense going to be able to handle Derrick Henry? And like we get to see that for the first time. So there's a bunch of matchups that are intriguing. Like the only game that feels like a dud out of this whole slate is the Jacksonville-Houston game. But you get to see Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne for the first time, and Urban Meyer, and how's he coaching? So, and is Deshaun back? Is he playing? There's a lot of questions and intrigue around all of these games.
And we're going to get into some of the bye week talks because this is interesting. Normally they start at week 4.
Right.
And the league now has 18 weeks of regular season. With that coming is week 6 to week 14 buys.
Right.
So that's going to mess up your fantasy playoffs.
It is.
Big time.
Big time. Yeah. Because it
used to be week 13.
Right.
Now it's week 14.
Yeah. So that's the first round of the fantasy playoffs.
And that's excluding the Colts, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Eagles.
Yeah.
So all you Jalen Hurts people out there, all those truthers that want to grab Jalen Hurts early and often in seasonal or dynasty leagues, be prepared to have backups. And it can't be Tua, Wentz, or Cam Newton / Mac Jones.
Right.
So that's a stab, unless you hit the bye week, unless you hit the first round bye.
Yeah, if you got the first round bye, you're in good shape, and that'll help you out. But if you own Jonathan Taylor, Myles Gaskin, Damian Harris, like Miles Sanders, like that drops them down a little bit for me. Like if I'm torn and I'm between two players that are in the same tier, I'm going to try to avoid those week 14 guys and go with guys that have a different bye week because you might need to play in week 14. It's not always guaranteed. The only 2 teams get a bye in your fantasy league.
I usually like the teams. I target the teams that have the mid-season buys.
Mm-hmm.
So especially in seasonal leagues, redraft, aka redraft. Only reason being is they do have a break in the smack dab in the middle of the regular season. If I lose a game week 7 or 8 in a fantasy matchup, I can recover from that before the playoffs.
Right.
I'm not leading it to the end. And hopefully I win all the way through. But I can still make trades. I can still do what I have to do to compensate for a loss or a loss of a player during those earlier weeks. But when you get down to the weeks 12, 13, 14, and we have some like week 12, Kansas City Chiefs, Arizona Cardinals, and we talked about it off air.
I made a trade this offseason, and I got
you have Kyler and Patrick Mahomes
in a super flex. Yeah.
So what do you do with when you have that? Who is your third? And I'm assuming it's a super flex league. You just said that.
Yeah, it is.
So who is your third quarterback on your roster?
It's Daniel Jones.
All right.
So I'm okay at 1, but the other super flex, I'm going to have to play a player out of position or hope that one of my bench players becomes a starter or something along those lines. Because otherwise, I'm just chalking that as my loss week.
I love this because, I'm going to help you tilt a little bit. And you only have Daniel Jones on your roster, and he's playing against Philly.
Yeah. So that's not a bad start.
It's not a bad one.
But I'm down 2 quarterbacks. You know what I mean? So in a super flex, I'm going to have to start a different player. However, the flip side is other people that I'm playing that week might have DeAndre Hopkins and they might have Tyreek Hill, and maybe they have them both and they're going to both be out too. So it goes both ways. It's a double-edged sword there with those buys. But in thinking about it, the only way this really affects things is in tiers. So if you have, like, let's say DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, and Miles Sanders.
Well, I'll stop you right there. I have a dynasty team that my lead backs are DeAndre Swift and Antonio Gibson.
Right. So they're both out the same week. Yeah, you're donezo week 9.
Yeah.
But if you're choosing in redraft, if you're
I can't even play Leonard Fournette because he's out too.
Let's say it's a redraft league, right? Either 1 QB or Superflex, no matter what. When you get to that tier of running backs and you're deciding between Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, and Antonio Gibson, you're going to say Jonathan Taylor, right? Like, people automatically are going to do that. But Jonathan Taylor isn't going to be there for you in the playoffs. He's not there for you week 14. So do you take a different position and wait and then take DeAndre Swift or Antonio Gibson a little bit later and pass on Jonathan Taylor? Like, that might be a decision you have to make, and if you're deciding between those players.
Well, I haven't done my redraft rankings yet, but now that the schedule is out,
yeah, it's time to make a preliminary one.
It's time to go, and we're going to tilt into some projections and some rankings sooner or later on this show, probably sooner.
Yeah, sooner.
But I always like those late round gems, and Atlanta is one of them. And I have a piece that just came out. I believe it just got released on Ball Blast about Mike Davis. Now, I'll slip it to you early. Mike Davis, the Falcons have a week 6 bye. That's what we're talking about. Early round bye. He's in the lead of the pack. He can lead that backfield right now with nobody trying to, unless they make a move somewhere.
Yeah, no, it's his backfield.
It's his backfield right now. So that's a great one. On the other side of it, Miles Gaskin, week 14. You can't really rely on that.
No, he's on a bye.
Oh man, these buys are going to be crazy, and it's going to take some time for us to get wrapped around them because, like you said, week 9 is just looking atrocious. And in the middle of my mind, I think I have like 10 dynasty leagues that in my head is just spinning right now.
Yeah, and Chef, you know what? I'm a little scared for Atlanta. We were talking about it off air with the whole, and then we talked about it in the news with Julio Jones possibly being traded, and it depending on their record, they have that week 6 bye. If they go into that thing 1-4 or 2-3, especially since they have to play Tampa early on in the season, which is you could probably chalk that up as a loss, and then they're going to play your Giants in New York in week 3. That's a tough game to go on the road and win. Atlanta could be staring down the barrel of a rebuild, man. And they got Washington coming into town in week 4. I feel like Atlanta's a candidate to go ahead and trade Julio Jones, man. I think they might do it.
I don't doubt it.
If they start off 2-3 or 1-4, I feel like week 6 is the perfect time. They're on a bye, and it's the perfect time for them to ship him off somewhere. Especially if he's healthy and playing well, but they're still losing those games. I feel like it'll be time to move on.
I think they look at the schedule and they say, okay, we can win maybe half of these games. Is it going to be enough to get into the playoffs this year? Maybe not.
Yeah,
a wild card spot. I'm not writing the Saints in to be winning to getting into the playoffs this year. That's one of my teams that's going to be a turnaround, not make it.
I think so too.
Which is going to be unfortunate. They've been making it for the past couple of years, but that Breeze era is over.
Yeah, we got to see if it's turnover Jameis or which one
LASIK Jameis.
Yeah,
he could be LASIK.
He could. Hey, he could be 2 years ago. So he threw for 5,000 yards. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he plays all right.
Definitely not. And then let's talk a little bit of Turkey. What week is that? Is that week 11? I'm pretty sure it was week 10 or 11. Not 11. Damn it. Excuse me, everybody out there. There it is, week 12. The Thanksgiving Day matchups.
Yeah. That's a great slate too.
I love Thanksgiving. I love football on Thanksgiving, and we normally get to see our Detroit Lions play, and we get to see the Cowboys play. They always play. But we just talked about the New Orleans Saints, and they end the night. And now last year on Thanksgiving, Alvin Kamara had a hell of a day, didn't he?
No, that was Christmas Eve. That was Christmas.
Oh,
that was the Christmas miracle. Yeah, the 6 touchdown.
Miracle. Yeah. But I don't see that miracle happening up against Buffalo this year on Thanksgiving. Dallas, Las Vegas. That looks like a great afternoon game. That's the pumpkin pie game, right?
Yeah, the fantasy game.
4:30 pumpkin pie game.
That's definitely a fantasy game. That's the one you're checking. It's going to be going back and forth all the time. I feel like against that defense, you'll finally see some rugs going deep. You might see Jacobs have a good game, or Drake, or whatever combination of the two running backs there.
And the earlier game, the 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll go off Eastern Standard. I'm pretty sure it's Eastern Standard.
It is, yeah.
The Bears versus Detroit interdivision game, and we will probably be seeing Justin Fields against Jared Goff.
Yeah.
So this is an exciting one. We get to see DeAndre Swift up against the Chicago defense. Montgomery. I mean, but hey, this is week 12. All right. It's a little bit later in the year. When do they have their buys? Because this all plays week 10. Chicago has a bye. And what was the other one? I'm sorry.
The
Bears, week 10.
They both, the Bears are week 10.
Bears are week 10.
And the Lions are week 9.
Week 9.
So they'll both be a couple weeks.
So they'll all be rested. They'll be ready to go.
I think that bye week is a good target for latest that we see Justin Fields. So he definitely will be playing on Thanksgiving. I think they'll be playing by then.
Fields of turkey for everyone.
Yes, sir.
From Chicago. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the schedule. I'm excited about that football is right around the corner. Everybody's playing best ball right now. People are talking startups. It's the best time of year, man.
It is. It really is. But I mean, you scared me with this, though. Once we had these bye weeks, Chef, I'm telling you, like the decisions are so tough, man.
It's tough, man. It's really tough. Like, I know I have Teddy Bridgewater just guessing that he might be the starter in Denver. I'm not sure about the confidence in Drew Lock. And I have Matthew Stafford in a league. And the Rams and the Broncos both have the same bye week.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. And the one note that I will say for dynasty owners, don't think you have to go out there and scramble and trade away players because of the bye. Because guess what? Next year, it's going to be different.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot every year.
So if it doesn't pan out for you this year, that's why you have dynasty, because those players' values don't go away. Or, you make a deal for a backup quarterback early and you pick them up, and that's your spot play. Like, for some reason, what's our league size in our home league? It's 24-man roster, super flex. It's a 10-man league. I have 5 quarterbacks on my roster. Now, before the season came out, I was planning on trading away one of those starting quarterbacks. According to the schedule, I may not trade away anybody. I may just hold on to it and say, let's go. There's a super flex in it. I mean, I'm a little light on running back, but I have enough to get by those bye weeks. And man, I may not be making any transactions. Let me just lock it up and throw away the key, because those quarterbacks, especially with this bye week schedule and the longer schedule, those are crucial.
Yeah, more so than ever. And I think I'm seriously going to target getting guys that are on the bye the same week and just taking that week as a loss. Like, there's guys that you have in a tier and you wish you had a team with certain players and elite level players. And if you're going to I feel like you're going to have to take them all from the same teams, from the same bye week. For example,
not week 14 though. And I'm hurting because I have Wentz, Cam Newton, and Jalen Hurts in week 14.
Right. So like, if you love your receivers, right, Chef, and you have Devontae Adams and you have DJ Moore and you have AJ Brown on your team and you leave a redraft and you're like, oh man, I'm stacked.
Yeah.
They're all on a bye in week 13.
So if you're on the cusp of getting in the playoffs and that was the one deciding game, you're
out.
Done.
You're out all 3 of your receivers. So that's something you got to seriously consider when you're doing these drafts. So if you have, let's say, McLaurin, all right, Terry McLaurin is in the same tier for you as, DJ Moore or AJ Brown. You're better off taking one of each. Like, take a Terry McLaurin and take a, AJ Brown. Don't take AJ Brown and DJ Moore. Don't take AJ Brown and Devontae Adams. Like, you can't do it.
I'm going to think outside the box here real fast.
Unless you want to throw away that week.
Just looking at this schedule, and it's only been out less than 24 hours. Do you tilt and modify your league play? Modify your league settings, saying playoffs don't start till week 15, and then go 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Because there's an 18th week.
Because there's an 18th week. It's brand new. We've talked about it before. And I mean, if half your roster may be on a bye.
Yeah.
So with seasonal leagues, I'm not talking, dynasty leagues.
Even in dynasty, you can do it.
You could do it in dynasty. And this would be the year to change your settings. And no one has said anything about this yet because the schedule just came out.
Yeah.
So this may be a time to talk to your commissioner, talk to your friends that you play fantasy with, talk to us, tilt back to us. You have a suggestion on what you could do? Right into the Tilt is Real.
Yeah.
And
I like that. Right now, if you're asking me for my vote.
If you're asking, I'm not asking you for your
I'm
vote
voting
right now.
I'm voting.
We're in a couple home leagues together.
15, 16, 17, I'm voting.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at it because I am a commissioner, and I'm going to write into shout out to Scott Fish in the Commission Impossible League with Ryan McDowell, Commissioner Impossible podcast. It's something that I listen to on a daily basis because I run 3 or 4 leagues as a commissioner, and fantasy is always evolving. Last year we had the 2020. This year we have longer season.
Yep.
So I think it's something that I'm going to bring up to them, and I want to see what their opinions are on it too. And it'll definitely be something that we bring up in our talks because we do have a draft this week on Sunday. So we put it to a vote. I love it. I have 2 drafts going on that day, and I can't wait. But Chef, seriously, follow the money too. An extra week is an extra week of losses and more money to paid into the league. So now it's a 14 regular season schedule instead of 13, and you do the playoffs 15, 16, and 17. If you do leagues where you get money for losses,
you pay for losses.
I mean, we have a loss
penalty. And it's another week of waivers too. And then if the playoffs are 15, 16, and 17,
then you push the trade deadline up a little bit more.
Yeah. And then week 18 will be the irrelevant one that week 17 used to be. And you don't play on week 18. That's all. Because that's the game where people will rest. So 15, 16, 17 doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah. We're going to have to put it to a vote in our leagues. I suggest you guys look at your leagues and talk to your commissioners and see what you want to do. Because I think that's a great idea, Juan.
It is.
And who knows? That's what happens when you tilt.
You're setting a trend, Chef. I promise you that everyone's going to change that all the way up to Matthew Berry on ESPN. They're going to change that, and it's going to be week 15, 16, 17 playoffs this year.
Well, shout out Matthew Berry. Shout out Scott Fish. I just got into the Scott Fish Bowl. I'm excited about that.
Yes, sir.
If you haven't signed up for that yet, go to scottfishbowl.com. It is one of the best free things you will ever do for fantasy. It is all about charity, supporting Toys for Tots and other charities around the fantasy industry. A lot of money goes to kids. I think they raised over $60,000 alone in from the Potathon for that. So great cause. Go follow at Scott Fish on Twitter. Great guy. Is that about it? I think we're done.
Yeah, that about wraps it up, Chef.
Oh, and yeah, let's get to our outs then, man. Like I mentioned earlier, I have an article that just dropped. I think it just dropped on Ball Blast Football. It's all about Mike Davis and late round running back value. Don't sleep. Don't tilt on the top running backs all the time. You could still find a little bit of value if you want to grab that receiver instead of the running back. You can find me at FF Chef on Twitter and follow us at The Tilt Is Real, man.
Yeah, that's it for me too. TheTiltIsReal.com is where you find my stuff. And I'm Juan Carlos Pena, and you can find me at FF Juan of a Kind.
Oh, and a quick shout out to Coming Off the Edge, the brand new podcast on the Checklist YouTube channel, Tuesday, 7 p.m. If you like what you hear here, you're going to love what you hear there. And until next time, we are out, my dude.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Check out our website at thetiltisreal.com for more great fantasy football content. We'll catch you guys next time on The Tilt is Real.